This is the full VOD of the matchup between Weibo and Fnatic. Let's dive into the picks and bans.
Where you have to give something in draft. Let's get into this one though, as we will start out with the Poppy ban. Interesting, already looking at so many different Dash champions that Poppy would shut down. Meanwhile, Weibo respecting the Ivern from Razork.
It's going to be taken away, and as we dive through this draft, I'm kind of thinking that there's quite a few things that have been already left available, with only 3 bans left to go. Something good is getting through here, boys.
And I want to pick up one interesting thing with the pattern from Fnatic. They have actually banned Aurora on blue side. Oh, and they're going to do it again. So that's one of the things. They had banned Aurora every single game thus far, which made me think maybe Humanoid and Arskurin are not quite ready with that champion, don't feel fully comfortable with it, because usually it's on red side to ban both the Aurora and the Yone, but they obviously trade it here.
And also, if you are Fnatic, in some scenarios, maybe you want to try and go for a trade, right? Take either the Yone or the Aurora. Not going to be the case. Interesting that the Skarner is the highest priority here. I do think that in the right situation, this jungler can be really, really strong. But especially with the Poppy ban, I feel like the Vi power just rises up even more so. Makes a very proactive playstyle a lot easier to execute as well. But it looks like instead, Weibo going towards that direction as well with that Renekton and Lucian.
And I love this, because this makes it very easy for me. Because even when I was casting Xiaohu back in the LPL many, many years ago, he was still the Lucian guy. And so I just get to go back to my roots and think, this is looking terrifying for Fnatic. This guy is so incredibly good at solo lane Lucian, and now that he's back, it could be scary. But that is also a hover that I'm not going to talk about, okay? I was baited this one time. I'm not going to be baited anymore.
Yeah, we'll see later on into the series if, you know, Karthus or some other AP jungles
it could work on the Weibo side of things with double very physical carries already.
Very well could. The Lucian, though, that you talk about for Xiaohu and being both a top lane and a mid lane Lucian for him. Different periods of his career, definitely powerful. Of course, it technically could be flex pick, but that's worth thinking for him.
Nidalee and Zyra are kind of what you go towards. I do think with the Zyra specifically, you are not as reliant on setup the way that you are with Nidalee. But given Tarzan's history, I think that either would work quite well here. Jax being locked in as well. And yeah, that Nidalee makes sense. I do think that when it comes to the 2v2 mid-jungle, it's a little bit weaker, but we saw it work with Tristana for basically the entirety of summer as well.
And I know there are a lot of people that just generically hate Nidalee as a competitive jungle pick, but Tarzan's Nidalee in LPL was insane. Oh yeah. The amount of punishment so early on too. So this already for Weibo just screams so much early pressure. I feel like this is a very intelligent strat to go for against Fnatic, since Razork has been exceptional, and one of the best players for this team, a really big part of Fnatic's dominant early game.
Yeah, the way that we talk about Nidalees is you need a Nidalee license. We have a few players that have them
Tarzan's
in the LCK.
definitely got it.
And Tarzan is definitely one of the players that even when he was still in Korea was a holder of said license, but has only gotten better with time. So already a couple of bans to come through here as Ashe and Ezreal taken away by Fnatic, and the Ziggs and Kai'Sa, very bottom lane themed, as Misfortune is going to be picked up. Now Noah considering what he wants to do.
Not the biggest fan of the Misfortune. I do think that already there is obviously a ton of AD carry and bot lane bans, Ziggs also included, and MF does have a really solid laning phase, but for me, MF really looks at best when there is multiple sources of setup, and right now, you have Nidalee and MF, and your only CC on this team so far is Renekton.
Yeah, and the Rel was already stolen away, so you're not going to get the Rel combo with the Misfortune, so it's going to have to be another, like Nautilus or Alistar or something. I mean, Alistar is always good into Rel and can be good setup for Misfortune, so maybe that sort of angle.
Yeah, purple coming in the last couple of picks here, with Syndra being locked in for Humanoid. A pick that we kind of thought was going to be more prevalent here at Worlds, but hasn't really seen as much as Crisp. Yes, there's a fair bit of CC that he's going to be relied on. I think Leona or Nautilus, certainly some champions with a lot of that. But I'm confused by the Kai'Sa ban, because a lot of mixed damage coming out of that champion, and I think for solo AP Nidalee, it doesn't have the same feeling as like solo AP Karthus or Zyra that are very consistent in getting that damage down.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the Syndra into Lucian, because usually when you pick Syndra into these AD carries and you're looking for that R button outplay, maybe Xiaohu like rushes an early Hex Drinker, no Magic Mantle at the very least, because that's exactly where the buffs for Syndra went. We're into the R damage and into that capability to, at level 6, just destroy an AD carry.
And both these compositions, particularly when you look towards that mid lane jungle duo for Weibo and mid lane and AD carry for Fnatic, like if you get ahead and you are the opposing team trying to play in either like the amount of lockdown that's available between Skarner, between Syndra and Varus, absolutely insane. Even if you're Leona trying to face check, that's really hard. I do think though that Weibo's laning strength is going to make it very hard for Fnatic to actually get to a point where you're ever to an objective first. And I think whoever falls behind early here is going to be in some really deep trouble, because coming back is going to really require some major plays, because I don't think there's a lot of angles.
Yeah, and honestly, the best part of Fnatic's games have been their early games.
Yeah.
The later stages, in LEC were a bit throwy, so definitely both teams fighting very heavy over that early prio.
Well, now it is time to jump onto the Rift for our very first game of this best of 3 Fnatic taking on Weibo Gaming here. And I actually think that if there's ever a game where you want to have that Fnatic thing where you get ahead early, it's a game with a draft like this into what Weibo has, because Weibo kind of have all of the power in the early game and will rely on the snowball. I don't think the same is true for what Fnatic have put forward here. It's a team fighting composition, lots of CC. I think at any point in the game, you can find a pick and turn things around. Whereas Weibo, like, we're all in. Renekton, Nidalee, if that doesn't work, if that doesn't get off the ground, you've got a handbag and a kitty cat.
The only risk you do run with Fnatic if you do fall behind, although I do think their comp is definitely better just because of the prevalence of CC and setup on basically every single member of the team, is that if you fall too far behind against champions like Renekton and Lucian specifically, you just don't get to ever push in a wave. And if Nidalee gets fed, itemizing against her is going to be really hard. It looks like Noah is looking to go towards that lethality with the Halo Blades here, which I do think makes a lot of sense looking at what you're playing into. Both these comps very bursty in terms of the damage.
And he's also looking to go towards the top side for the lane swap here. So Fnatic, with their sweeper, they chase out Tarzan to make sure Tarzan does not steal away, quote-unquote, any of their camps on their weak side for this lane swap. The one big risk, especially versus champs like this that can really accelerate jungle, is giving some extra camps early to a Nidalee, because Nidalee will just severely outpace the Skarner if you allow any of those extra ones stolen. So it should be a pretty normal and calm start here to the lane swap. The only thing is we don't see Jun actually soaking any experience in mid lane. The biggest kind of change was that supports and top laners trying to get to their levels 2 so they can teleport in and try and defend on the bottom tower, but just walked over there with 0 experience on the Rel. Feels like level 1 will be okay.
Yeah, and I'm wondering whether Weibo have a plan for this, right? Because I think if you see this draft that they've put together, you're almost always lane swapping no matter what you have, because it's all about lane strength and power, and what their strategy is going to be is what I'm most interested in. So far, you can see the bottom side being cleared out by Tarzan, and possibly looking to just try and go for something here. Is a nice little stun from the Counter-Strike out of Oscar in there, but otherwise not too much.
Definitely somewhat of a risk taken, but I think you saw there as well. Oscar and June can play more aggressive the moment that Brief TPs towards top side. I don't think Weibo really would have wanted to look to try and make a 4v2 play. Not going to do that
scatter.
as good scatter, as you point out there, from Humanoid. And getting the counter picker, we'll see how much he's able to get out of it. Tarzan, as expected, just doing a great job on the clear, and right now neither team seeming to get out too far ahead as Razor looking for a play on mid.
Yeah, he's driving through. There is the turnaround though from Xiaohu. He does have Tarzan here, but the first blood still just comes through, and Tarzan diving onto Razork now underneath the turret, and it's a double for the little Tiger. My God!
Big Tiger now.
This is it's a Shere Khan. He's got Tarzan with him. They're used to that, and they're pushing in this wave.
That's a bit of a disaster. As it turns out, if you just hit your Nidalee spears, you don't need setup.
Yeah, I saw the scatter come through, the stun happen. I was thinking that's going to be time for, like, we're just going to back away, it's going to be okay. But Xiaohu going very aggressive.
I think there's very, very good, setup here by Weibo and Tarzan ready for it.
That's one.
The spear already hits, so Fnatic know that he's there, and then they still go for it. It's really hard to get a Skarner charge onto a Lucian. Xiaohu just goes straight in onto him. But you have to say, Tarzan spears, they just don't miss. And so, as you're saying, that makes it very easy to play the 2v2. If all your spears are going to hit, Humanoid just down. He still does have his flash, which is saved. But, that is going to be very hard, even with a flash advantage, to retake control from a Lucian that has all of this early prio.
And now he's 2-0. I gotta say, the fact that they knew as well that Tarzan was there really put that play in a different light for me.
Yeah,
we
right.
didn't saw that initially, right? But the moment that first spear hits, I think you have to peace out. I don't think you should be looking for these 2v2s early on, because the amount of damage that the Nidalee and Lucian have that is gonna really outpace what, especially a level 3 Skarner is gonna be able to do. And realistically, Xiaohu, at worst flashes, but he should never really be in any threat on the Lucian when Skarner tries to look for a gank like that.
Yeah, and you just see the difference in skirmishing there. I mean, it's the mobility of Lucian with the dash and being very willing to instantly flash in on the Syndra, finish off this kill.
And we're thinking as well that this could have been one of the weak points for Weibo as well, with the fact that there's 0 CC, but there is CC on this bottom side. Crashdown going to be flashed here by Light. Creates some distance, but the Zenith Blade gets Crisp right back in there. Jun burning down, but still trying to turn, finds a Shattering Strike, but otherwise we're just going to back away, sharing some health bars.
Really, really big win there for Fnatic, able to get both summoners out of Light. We have seen that Miss Fortune in general can really struggle, given that she doesn't have an escape. It's very quick, but when you're playing against the amount of lockdown that's available for Fnatic, that is definitely big. My main question is going to be, can they actually use it and get anything out of it? Because just the summoners being down alone, not really enough.
Man, I just love watching Xiaohu here in the mid lane as well. He's going to be so confident with his extra gold. He did not, by the way, invest into any early Null Magic Mantle. He's going straight offense first.
Yep, recurve bow already in his inventory. Unfortunately, Humanoid only with a book. He's still just trying to build up these splinters, get to that point where you can press your gameplay button, which is located on R, and just force your opponent to not be able to play the game. Tarzan will be starting off these grubs, and of course Nidalee pretty happily getting through those.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to get at least some of them here, but Fnatic have the earlier move with Jun heading over. There's no teleport on Humanoid, though, because of the early skirmish and loss. So now their mid laner's not going to be here. It looks a little sketchy.
Yep, 2 of the grubs already taken down. That was where Tarzan invested his smite. So it won't be contested on the 3rd one. So maybe Fnatic going to be putting a little bit more pressure on the next spawn.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits, too, of having Misfortune as your bottom laner. You saw Light kind of walking up very quickly with the strut movement speed. And once you see the bottom lane has also made the rotation here, no chance for Fnatic. So 3 grubs plus the early 2 kills for Weibo is massive for them. We talked about them really wanting to snowball with especially the top 3 champions on the map.
Kind of the worst of both worlds for Fnatic as well, because you don't really have anything that you can do there towards the grubs with the rotation. As Razor maybe looking for a play here.
Yep, going to be spotted on a ward as he does make his way in, but there's Jun with the engage. They do a lot of damage and Light will be going down. Jun's still going to be sacrificed, so a 1-for-1 in the end, but this might give Fnatic enough time to grab some plates as well.
That's the punish of that lack of summoners onto Light, and it makes the previous grub play feel a little bit less bad, because ideally you'd be looking for a side lane play or for a cross map. Fnatic didn't really find anything there. With this kill onto Light and it going to Noah as well, it's a lot of power necessary still. About 800 gold behind, but at least they're trying to stem the bleeding.
And you do pay a small price by showing jungle up for that dive as they stop the recall here from Oscurin. By showing jungle up there, Tarzan moves in and steals away your red buff as well, so a very small price to pay, but still being able to get it.
Well, it's a 2-for-1. You got 3 grubs as well.
There you go.
So in the extended trade, definitely still not the end of the world. And I really like this play from Fnatic, exactly what we talked about. When there is an enemy with no summoners that needs to be punished, Jun goes for the Q flash, and from that point on, Light doesn't really have any counterplay.
Yep, wall slam comes through from Razok, and that is all she wrote, and I think you're happy to trade Jun for that one. As
Went to Crisp as well.
Just have to see exactly how this one's going to go. Crisp, I think he could be deadly. on this Leona. We've seen Leonas pick up some
Power
kills
Leona,
in the past.
Yeah. Battle Leona.
Exactly. Battle Leona is something to be feared, Chronicler, as we know. Tarzan going to be starting off the first Dragon, though. We'll see whether Fnatic can get down here and try to contest. Looks like there is a couple in the area, but with Razok going home, looking like that is just going to be given over. I think the first Dragon, not something you necessarily need to lose your minds over. 600 gold the lead for Weibo, but I think to go back to what we were talking about in the draft, this isn't that bad, right? For Fnatic, they have this composition that can certainly survive into the later stages, and Weibo sort of have to get more of a lead than this to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think what I'm worried for Fnatic mostly is second grub fight, because I feel like Weibo are going to have a big advantage there. You know, Renekton on second grubs is always a monster, something difficult to deal with, and we'll see about the swaps if they can get it back, but currently Tarzan on the bottom side as we're still a minute away from that second grub pack spawning, and he wants to punish bot.
Yeah, as the bullet time to come through there, not really doing very much, but Noah still has to use the cleanse. The ignite comes down afterwards. Good sidestep there from at least Noah, but Jun unfortunately is going to be left to the wolves. Nice Magnet Storm just to make sure that his Varus is safe, but it's not going to keep him alive as Light gets his revenge.
Still massively successful gank there for Tarzan. Gets both summoners from Noah, and even though you don't get the kill, they're going to be able to shove in that wave, kill going over to Light, and Weibo with this Nidalee really trying to snowball the game as much as they can.
And that just makes me really even more worried for the grub fight, because now, like you're saying, with no summoner spells for Noah, and Weibo having Breathe with the ultimate ready for Renekton, definitely looks very scary, but they are swapping them over, so Noah and Jun headed up to the top half of the map.
Now Oscar going to be seen there on the recall, but Breathe not going to force him away or anything like that.
One advantage that Fnatic got, because, you know, Jun died earlier, they have been able to get vision, set it up here, so they do still really want to go. I do think that the gold lead that is there for Weibo isn't by itself detrimental, but if they're getting caught off guard...
Razok does come through, does find the stun into the wall. The Impale comes through, but he was stunned. Not actually going to bring him anywhere, and Breathe with that ultimate is keeping himself alive for so long. Almost survives, but doesn't. Gets cut down by Noah. He's going to be traded through, though. Both top laners to go down as Chris getting taken down over and over again. You can see Razok down low. Jun as well, just trying to get out. The crash down, the flash, and Fnatic are out of there. But are they healthy enough to still fight for this objective?
I don't know about that. Humanoid, I think, flashed over there. They really needed more kills to make that worth their while.
Oh, Chris finding the interruption on the recall. Will be able to take down Humanoid there, and that means these grubs are definitely going over to Weibo.
That is such a tragedy for Fnatic. Chronicler, Humanoid did flash over into the Tri-Brush in the earlier play, and so then here, while he's recalling by the Tri-Brush at their tower, just gets spotted by Crisp, and Crisp just waits around. They get another one, Weibo here. Even though it starts out with a decent focus onto the Renekton, it still turned around so nicely. And notice that it actually takes Xiaohu a long time to join and teleport in, but Fnatic know that that possibility is here.
The big thing is that you are throwing everything, including Humanoid's offensive flash, into lightest summoners and a Renekton. Like level 9 Renekton has his ultimate available. They invest so much, meaning that they don't actually have the tools to then win the fight the moment that Xiaohu does TP in. And then that alone would have already been rough, and you're for sure going to lose the grubs. But then the fact that because he doesn't have the flash, Crisp with a really nice read cancels the recall.
Yeah.
And right now, things are looking dire.
And Xiaohu went back and he finished his Kraken Slayer and his Mercury Treads. So you thought he was going to play very aggressively previously, but now with the tenacity and the magic resist of your Merc Treads on top of your offensive ability to punish, this is Xiaohu unleashed.
Very, very scary. As Weibo with 6 grubs as well, and the fact that they have double AD carry, if they're given any time on these turrets, it is going to be a disaster. 1 minute until the plates do fall down. We'll see whether they're able to collect any more of that money. But I think there is a lot on Fnatic that need to keep away Weibo from these turrets to eliminate the opportunity to get all of the extra cash.
Let Oscar get it back. Man, every time.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we see on screen when we pan over top lane.
Actually, not too bad though for Fnatic.
This is working.
As, obviously, topside was, I think, going to get taken nonetheless with their bot lane already showing. towards that bot wave. You can't really fight this top side right now. 3-0 on Xiaohu. Tarzan obviously really fed due to the early impact that he's made. And Brief, even though he was focused in the last fight, like still very much doing his job. That one turret I think was okay. Definitely can't give this one up.
Yeah,
Oscar alone is not going to be enough. Again, 6 grubs.
Yeah, they're just hitting it. Tarzan as well can give attack speed over to Xiaohu. It is just going to be taken out, and that's what happens. I think you can't really adjudicate how much damage you're going to do in what amount of time with these 6 grubs there. It's just not really working. Noah's been here for forever.
It's lethality Varus. Like, he's trying his hardest, but he doesn't have a lot of attack speed to get through that turret.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work. It's Crisp taking a little bit of damage there, but not really too much to worry about as Noah finally does get through that structure. And so I think 6 plates to 7 is where it was at, if memory serves. So not actually that bad, but an inner turret going down?
Yeah, exactly. It's very rare in this, check-in at the 14-minute mark and where they're checking in on turret plates for also a secondary turret to have already been taken. So much extra gold there, and Weibo doing a very good job of accelerating off of the early success of their plays. Remember, it all started with their success in those small skirmishes, and then being able to translate that up to the grub fight is just kind of insanely difficult now for Fnatic to really retake control. Maybe when they get Humanoid to level 11 on the Syndra, because he at least does have the Storm Surge now. There is huge burst potential in this item. Currently, that item is in a very good state, so if Humanoid can get his level 11 to just a tiny bit of experience here, then maybe that R button outplay will be the start of something good for them.
The problem with Fnatic falling this far behind for me is that even though, again, I think that composition is a little bit more playable when you are in a deficit because of the CC.
Crisp is deep.
But do you have the damage?
Very far forward as Brief does get through the turret. Let's see how Eclipse is going to work here. Taxi's out with the Zenith Blade as now Oscar in, and he's trying to make his way, and he's teleporting right on top of 2 members of Weibo, and now he's dashing after Tarzan. Flashes over the wall. Tarzan should be taken down here, but meanwhile, the rest of the fight, the culling comes on through. Oscar in is able to finally take down the Nidalee as Xiaohu dashing through, finds that piercing light, but can he get anything more
Oscar,
as the wraparound's coming through? This could be the team fight. Another huge counter-strike onto 2 as Humanoid gets the kill on the Misfortune. The damage is falling, and Fnatic will find it.
It's the reverse Fnatic. They fell behind early, but find a monster fight here. And just as I was wondering, do they have the damage to kill Crisp? Well, they did, but everyone else from Weibo joined as well.
And it all started there when Oscar's teleport comes in, and he just says, forget it, I'm going all in on Tarzan here. I'm just gonna punish this Nidalee, whatever's right in front of me. He comes in with the instant counter-strike, does not hesitate, follows Tarzan over every wall that Nidalee tries to jump over, and after he gets this kill, Weibo are now pincered. Like, they have no way out. He's got them trapped. He goes back. He actually heals up on some honey fruit in the river. So after he's already taken down the Nidalee, he comes in with another counter-strike, healed back up to 50%, and just immediately takes down Light. Beautiful stuff from Fnatic to fight their way back in.
And what's crucial there is the amount of damage that Resurrect tanked. Got the early spear that was thrown towards Humanoid. Also, the culling from Xiao didn't actually end up amounting to anything, and you saw, without him really pumping out a lot of damage and Tarzan taken out of the fight immediately, wasn't too much that Weibo could do there.
That's a tough play to do as well. You know, this is an elimination series, and Oscar, on teleporting in, the game is starting to slip away from you.
Ward.
Yeah, they know exactly what Razok's trying to do here, but he doesn't waste any time. He's just going to drive on through. They do get the charge out of the Rift Herald, but not too much more than that, and the turret will survive. As Fnatic now set up to play defense, take control of mid lane, and move into the Weibo jungle. Fair bit of vision here available defensively from Weibo. I think they've been very good at keeping wards down, keeping traps around, make sure that they have as much information as possible. But right now you can see that Fnatic feels so much more confident than they did about 5 minutes ago.
And with the gold lead a lot more equal, especially once John has his flash available again, like Weibo, as strong as I think they are when they are the ones initially setting the fight, you see if Crisp gets taken out early and he doesn't actually get to provide the CCs, should be okay here. Doesn't seem like he's too friend. Getting a lot of value out of the Edge of Night there.
Yep. Bit more of an attack speed build, not really going to be buffing up the Cullen damage as much as others could be for Xiaohu here. Still very, very deadly.
Yeah, I think it does. That little play does kind of demonstrate some possibilities from Weibo later on too, because not only Noah, but also Humanoid. You know, both of the carries here for Fnatic have pretty low mobility if they don't have their summoner spells, and so Leona ultimate can set up not only the poke from Illusion ultimate, but also Tarzan spears. So there actually is a lot of long-range danger here for Fnatic to have to deal with, not to mention the misfortune as well.
Oh, and no objective up just yet. Both teams just fighting for control of the river. But if either team can get the ocean, I think that's, particularly against the spears, very high value. But a lot of these comps feel really bursty, so I don't know if you really want to prioritize too heavily towards getting those. Maybe instead look for gold on the cross map.
Yeah. The reason I was freaking out so much for that last fight, though, is because it actually does so much to allow Fnatic some more counterplay. If the Jax is in a good condition, being able to have the split push, but then also set up for the objectives here with very strong front line on the Skarner and the Rel just gives Fnatic so many more options in this game that looked like they had started to close because of Weibo's dominant early game. But really big stuff there from Fnatic, and especially Oscar, to get themselves into a much more capable situation.
I also expected Weibo to get that mid lane turret down, which obviously gives you so much more pressure and makes it a lot harder to play for Fnatic. But that didn't actually happen, right? Like, they threw down the Herald, but when they got the Herald, it looked like that mid lane turret was guaranteed gone. But that bot lane fight also took a lot of threat away. And now you can see, I think for Noah in particular, as you point out, like, even with Edge of Night, this is a guy that needs to be very careful with his positioning, but having a turn to go back to for Loleventvods is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Bit of a battle here, but it is going to be Noah helping out with his piercing arrow. Razork going to be able to grab that smite on the blue buff, and as we've just ticked over 20 minutes, it is now on everyone. Feels very, very nice. Fnatic now pretty set up for this dragon. It's spawned just now as we were talking about it. And it's still a fair bit of vision available, a fair few traps available here. So Weibo do understand what's going on, but they will, I think, look to take down this turret first. And let's see whether Fnatic let them. It's another smash into the wall. Double impale from Razork. There's the counter-strike as well. He barely needed it. Xiao just going to fall. Crisp immediately afterwards. And the rest of Weibo are reeling. They're going to lose the dragon. They could lose more.
It's a double fake-out. Weibo also think, okay, we can give up this Drake, who cares, it's the first Drake, we can take mid-turret, but Fnatic are ready to punish.
Yeah, Razork says, get off of our turret now!
It's still there!
And Xiaohu tried to finish it. Xiaohu has flash, by the way, Crisp has flash, by the way, and they wanted to finish the turret. They thought they could finish the turret in time, that then they could turn and take the fight, but the Skarner is just driving right at you. You have to respect it. They do not respect it. He can't finish the turret, and he just gets clapped up by the ultimate, immediately taken down. Huge for Fnatic here. What a punish.
And that's Xiaohu going down, the most fed member on Weibo, the one that's supposed to provide the damage, and tried to dash out of the impale, but simply too late. If he flashes there, I can see Weibo turn around that fight. Grief was at the ready, Tarzan wasn't really threatened, and if it's just Crisp, I think that's playable, but instead, Fnatic now with a gold lead.
And a kill lead as well. With a composition like this feels absolutely fantastic, because Weibo, they were starting to run away with things. As soon as that bot lane fight happened, you could even see the split, right? Tarzan hanging so far back as Crisp and Xiaohu were looking to try and greed for that turret. I could hear the comms, you know, in my mind's ear. I could hear it. Tarzan saying, please don't die, and they were just still underneath that turret
mind's
there.
ear.
Yeah, my mind's ear. That's what I was going for. You know how you say mind's eye, but I couldn't see it. I could hear it. It sort of had to be my mind's ear.
I totally understood what you're going for.
And then he had to just make it
I'm the problem. I'm sorry. Apologies, Atlas. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. I don't think that one's been coined before. Please let me know if you
That's
have
an
any
Atlas
idea.
special.
Yeah. But you made me feel like right home about something was not actually a thing that people said, Kobe. So I never know when I'm on a desk with you whether something's real or not.
I traumatized you with that
You
one.
really did. I heard somebody else say it with you just the other day, and I was like, he's not berating him for it.
I really want to hear this. I feel like we need to focus on the game. But we'll
okay,
look back to this later.
We'll unpack our trauma later.
As we do see now, third item done. Noah on Loleventvods and Varus in general, but I think with Loleventvods you do have a lot more innate safety because of the fact that you can use your range a lot more, but still, into particularly a possible brief flank or Crisp, he needs to stay on point. But as long as these summoners are there for this AD carry, think Weibo are going to have a tough time. Is Breathe.
Yeah, Breathe is going to find Jun here, but also a few extra friends that maybe he didn't want to hang out with, as there's a teleport coming through as well. He is soaking a lot. The Sterix is going to be there. The zoning Impale comes through, and the culling just tickling Oscar Innen, who still dives forward. I'm not sure about that one. Xiaohu going to finish him off in the end. Bullet Time not doing a whole lot of anything, and the minion wave is there to soak these spears. In the end, it is going to be a 1-for-1. Both top laners falling down, but Crisp losing his health bar, and Tarzan just don't think he can quite do enough here, as still Weibo are trying to push forward, not finding too much.
Really good flash there from Xiaohu. If he ends up getting counter-struck, I think this might be an opportunity for Fnatic, but now instead Weibo trying to punish with Humanoid, not having teleport available. I don't think the game state is that desperate that they have to flip for Baron, so they rightly so decide not to.
Yeah, it's actually something you see a decent amount with Fnatic. After they make a good play, then they get a little bit too antsy with trying to squeeze more out of it. And
could have just taken the Renekton.
Exactly. Oscar was a little bit too greedy in the +1 on top of the play. Because here, Breathe is so separated from the rest of Weibo. You know, his plan as they approach the brush is to dodge and outplay, but he can't last long enough for the rest of Weibo to get here. By the time they get here, he's actually dead. And then the rest of the team actually walks back because of the Leona ultimate. But Oscar was forward from the Leona ultimate, and so he wanted to make the huge play onto Xiaohu. But as you mentioned, it's just a flash-for-flash trade. Have to really pinpoint the timers on those summoner spells and keep that in mind.
Also, even though you see how much CC Fnatic has, Jun missing stuff still leads to the Renekton going down. I'm pretty sure they can actually 100-0 Brief there if they fully stun lock him, right? If the Q goes off, then the crash down, then the slam into the wall. Because a really big part of why that fight looked even close was Brief again. Already has level 2 in the ultimate, had his Sterix, and you saw how much time it took to actually take him down. But looking at the summoners, Xiaohu's flash, I think, is a big deal. Outside of that, nothing too crazy. And this game at 25 minutes still feels like it very much could go either way.
It really does. I do still feel like Fnatic are in a great spot, given what they have. We'll just have to see what they do with it. As Breathe pushing in this lane towards the bottom inner turret. Oscar will come over and pick that one up. A couple of items for the Jax already. I think Breathe going to struggle in the 1v1 against this guy. I think it means so much for Fnatic with this composition. You mentioned already the fact that it's difficult for these less mobile champions to hang out in a side lane. As soon as Oscar's just going to be winning in sides, their line wave clear is absolutely absurd. So you can hold whenever the team is pushing in, even if you have a man disadvantage. What with Piercing Arrow just hitting from a million miles away and Humanoid throwing orbs everywhere.
See
so
how
well, in a good spot.
How well Oscar can channel Bin. Because we saw yesterday.
And actually, him going in that last fight, that made me feel good. Even though it was objectively not a great moment in the fight for Fnatic, him having that killer instinct, it's a great thing to see here for Fnatic up against Weibo right now. Because I think they still need to hold on to that. They still need to not be afraid to just go in for these fights, find these angles.
Again, Weibo can give this up when it comes to the power of the objective, but they might feel like they are on a timer. Brief looking for a flank, does get marked by Oscar, and not a lot of vision available here.
Yeah, Brief gonna get pushed away. Counter-Strike not really gonna find too much, but Fnatic kind of getting split here as Humanoid off to the side. Doesn't want to have to flash to get in towards a fight here. And Xiaohu clearing out vision over and over. It is going to be the Drake picked up as Razork. You can see it. He wants to find the angle, but that is a beautiful interruption. And the bullet time coming through as well, going to soften them up. The piercing arrow, I mean, Noah is really hurting right now. 4-0-3 on this Varus. He needs to be respected. And I think that was like a bullet time that did the same amount of damage as the Q from Noah.
Yeah. Lethality Varus, ever since we saw him get buffed again, I think it's more so, funnily enough, because he used to be an early game powerhouse, but I feel like it's really his late game where it feels now like if you can land these Qs consistently, it's a really, really big deal. Again, Noah summoners to me, a big thing as well. Xiao almost has the flash available, which will lead to him being able to play a lot more aggressive. These two Drakes for Fnatic, they're nice, but again, I think that as far as this was an Inferno, if this was a Hex deck, feel very different about this game. Execution still needs to be crisp here on either side, really. But Weibo is going to start reaching the point where, like Oscar Innen, once he finishes his Zhonya's, that's not a target that you're going to be able to go for anymore. And Weibo do really need to take someone out of the fight early, unless Light hits a mega ultimate.
And Weibo have a lot to dodge as well. It's not just the poke, but also the Syndra long-range stun, as well as Noah. If he throws out his ultimate here on the Varus, anyone getting snagged by that, very viable pick target. So we'll see about the split push on bottom side, as it is 4-1 for both these teams, trying to battle over mid lane pressure first.
Yeah, a lot of power when Fnatic have Oscar in the fog of war. Because the flank angles for this Jax can make things really difficult, because like you say, even dodging things that they can see right in front of them is going to be difficult. But when you throw a Jax into the mix as well, with that circle of doom that he's going to be carrying in with him, certainly be a problem as Humanoid towards that top side, holding on to this CS lead of about 20 that he's had almost the entire game. Weibo just trying to figure out that way to get back in.
And this is one of the things Fnatic need to be very careful about, and I hope Weibo's going to be looking towards, is that when you're in a front to back, Syndra can be really hard to get on top of because of her effective range as well as the scatter. In a side lane though, and I think you can see this, Humanoid needs to be very, very careful. With Lucian, with Renekton, it's a lot easier to get out of possible collapses. For Syndra, not really going to be the case. Same for Noah. But right now, it doesn't look like Weibo really wants to leverage that possibility. Instead, just again, going for these, looking for the 5v5s. I don't know if that's the way to go against Fnatic, because this front line is beefy.
And these last 20 seconds, Weibo have been losing resources with the Jax split push.
Yeah, Xiaohu trying to get in there. Chris with the flash. Zenith Blade does try to get Humanoid out of the fight. Xiaohu just going to be taken down, though. Noah says no. That is going to be the bullet time. So there's a trade of mid laners now, but Fnatic feel like they still want this fight, and you can understand why. Chris thrown into the blender and will be chopped down. And they are not done yet. Smacked into the wall is the Crocodile, and Breathe just has to slice and dice his way out.
And you could feel Oscar wanted to go for the flash counter-strike there. Not going to be the case. Maybe they get mid lane turret. We haven't really mentioned that, but the fact that it's still standing here for Weibo, kind of insane with how this game has gone thus far. No objective, but again, Xiaohu going in a little bit way too deep.
A little bit way too deep, I love it.
And it's kind of
It's the Lucian flank.
Yeah. It's a story of two different engages, because you saw how deep Chris went as well, but there was no follow-up damage for him on Humanoid. Meanwhile, Fnatic have two members just deleting Xiaohu, and so it takes a little bit longer for Weibo to actually find their kill, and by that time, Fnatic have the edge in the teamfight to follow through with the chase.
What's crucial though is the lesson learned, where this time Oscar doesn't flash with this counter-strike. Okay, we got what we wanted. We're going to leave it at that, but that turn from Jun, really big, because taking Xiao again out of the fight, so much damage for Weibo gone.
Now, Fnatic did have to invest their teleport from Oscar, though, because Oscar was split pushing. So that is something that Weibo can try and look to answer. It looks like they're actually going to use Breeze now.
Pretty big Shattering Strike to come through there as well, but not a lot of meaningful damage onto this turret. So Weibo is still going to hold on to their outer in the mid lane. I feel like this siege, especially as these Ocean Dragons start to stack up for Fnatic, should be really, really strong, but Weibo have been doing a great job defending it so far this game. Tarzan still just hoovering up his jungle as best he can. Crisp over the wall, unseen for now. As Razork looking for Breathe, a possible angle here. As Chris, with that Hex Splash up and available, channeling now, looking for an angle. Solar Flare going to connect onto Humanoid. The bullet time comes through as well, but it's not enough damage. With that culling laid in as well. I think in a lot of game states with a composition like this, Humanoid is instantly dead, but in the state that it's in now, he's doing okay.
He's lucky he's got his teleport, because he can just go back to the fountain, heal up, and teleport back for the dragon fight.
Yep, comes in immediately here as Razork playing Dodge the Spear. Game that you're sort of forced into playing when there's a Nidalee on the field. That is going to be the Ocean Drake being taken down to about half health already here as Spear's being avoided. Oscar and still just trying to play that front line, and Razork, if he stands in front of his team, it's very difficult to get anything past him. You can see he's so incredibly tanky, and that is going to be that third Ocean taken down, and now he's driving forward, finds the slam into the wall. The Impale goes down as well. The Magnus Storm just sucks them all in, and the Renekton Nidalee just lying on the floor in an instant.
Fnatic actually know that Humanoid getting chunked there was a win for them, because Humanoid's teleport is not going to have any use in the fight, but the ultimate from Crisp, the ultimate from Light that were used to chunk him out were expended, and so Fnatic have the advantage in the fight. They take the objective, they get the kill, and they're going to take Baron too.
Cross map being set up here for Weibo. Xiaohu going for that, but that's, I think, all they're going to get. Oscar has been sent over, can TP in case of a crazy Weibo contest, but that's not coming through. And Fnatic, I think the expectations, particularly after some of their previous games, not going to be very high. But what's the key thing to me, outside of that one play from Oscar, they have looked so restrained, which is definitely something they should have given the lessons they've learned throughout the year. But it's, I think, the big difference maker in this series so far.
Certainly is, and coming into this one, when you don't have that Leona, Misfortune, or Lucian ultimates on the side of Weibo, they're just kind of standing around watching, you know, poking at the dragon, see if they could steal it or something. Light here, let's see if he gets any autos off. He walked all the way around, he casted an E.
He got zoned by Oscar. Like, Oscar just walked up to him, helicopter, he's like, oh, no, can't get near this.
At this point, I'm feeling like AP Misfortune would have been the option.
Yeah, get that Leanders in there.
Yeah, get that E damage working out. As Fnatic with the Baron now pushing down, they finally get the outer turret in the mid lane. And the inner might be following, although they do run out of minion wave. Still, this is so much control. And you can see they're playing as if they have checkmate. They've been playing like that for the last 10 minutes. That could worry some people, but we'll see whether it works out. Yeah, I was about to say that, but
now comes actually killing the Nexus. And I think first, getting inhibitors, right? Makes it so much easier to play the map.
I hear you do have to do that. There was a team that we had that got caught up with the whole inhibitor debacle. So yes, you do need to kill those.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. As Fnatic now just looking for a minion wave in mid lane. Top lane is not really something that they can play through right now, but bottom mid is somewhere that they should be able to crack at least.
Yeah, Oscar should be going back there, catch that one, so that they're at least playing on 2 waves, but they want to be careful. Weibo have been very proactive about continuously looking for these fights.
I mean, from this point on, it is just so easy for Fnatic. Because Weibo's comp has just run out of steam, and Fnatic have all the advantages here. They have an advantage in split push, they have an advantage in siege. Their front line is massive. Weibo would have to come up with some miracle play from Crisp. Honestly, a Leona ultimate would be their dream scenario.
Crazy flank.
Yeah, Breathe looking for that angle. You can see the Crocodile making his way in. Crisp going to start up the fight. As Razork just a brick wall in front, and they will just choose to kill the Leona, and she's going to go down extremely quickly. The bullet time not really doing too much. The culling following suit, and Oscar turns into that backline, a triple kill just instantly. That's one heck of a counter-strike for that engage, as Breathe not going to be doing enough here. And Jun just going to come back just to help out with these guys, as Razork is immortal. This Skarner is never going to die. At least not for the rest of this game, as now Fnatic looking to push further forward and try to break open this base.
And Noah falls, but I don't think he's going to be feeling bad about this one, Kobe.
It's Fnatic with the outscale. It's Fnatic with the comeback.
Oh my goodness, this was not on my bingo card this morning, but I'm very happy to sketch it in crayon as these Nexus turrets are falling down, and Fnatic on their home turf will not be pushed away by Weibo in game 1. Not with that early game composition. They'll move up 1-0 in the series.